All right, chat. So we have the Pilgrimage Festival for NA coming out here real soon. Literally by the time I post this video, it'll be out. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to say about this. Y'all know I have my Evocation video out there explaining everything that kind of works on this. I've also got one talking about kind of like who's some of the best units to take from the Evocation Festival are. But it's been brought to my attention that it would be a good idea to talk about each of the individual Evocation festivals, and that's kind of what I intend to do here while this one's actually relevant. So you guys should know the deal with an Evocation festival. This is going to be the release of old welfares into the Evocation shop, aka Pilgrimage Festival and Pilgrimage Shop here on NA, and that's going to allow you the ability to acquire these units again. That's great, especially if you're a newer player or you're somebody that wasn't playing at the time that they were released. It's going to allow you a new opportunity and way to grab them. They will be permanently added, so you don't have to worry about missing them. However, there's a couple things you want to take advantage of. Particularly this Evocation Festival is going to be an interesting one. So these are the NA dates and how they will apply. Currently, at the moment, we already know that on NA, we are going to be having the live stream preceding the Lotto on the 23rd. That very well and likely means that the Lotto will be on the 24th of April. The Lotto will last for 2 weeks, which means it will probably end sometime May 8th. Why is that significant? Why do I need to bring this up with the Evocation Festival? Well, that means that the damage bonus that these units receive while the Pilgrimage Festival is going on will also apply for these units to the Lotto. So it's at least significant from the standpoint of if you can manage to work one of these units into one of your compositions, it might help you if you were otherwise going to struggle with a node. And so it's kind of important for me to bring this up now so that you guys have a little bit of time. You will have about 1 week before the Lotto here to kind of get things prepped. Again, I have the Lotto guide out there for you guys, kind of going through everything you guys need to know for the event, as well as a spreadsheet detailing a lot of compositions. Some of these units are used in some of those compositions, so it's why I really wanted to talk shop with you guys on this. It is an interesting thing in that regard. You guys know the deal, though. You're going to be getting the Evocation Festival leaves. That's going to be your currency here for things. You definitely want to make sure you're buying all 5 copies of the unit and all of their Ascension items first before you go out and buy like all of their coins. Coins get really expensive for how much they can cost, especially for you to try to get everything on a particular given unit. In most cases, the big thing that you might need would be something like the mana loading in order to be able to get them a little bit more charged to begin with, in order to facilitate their use in different compositions. So that's something where it's like you don't have to get everything right away, right up front. Remember, the shop is permanent. You'll have plenty of time. I did also quickly here want to talk with you guys about my opinion on each of these 4 units. Literally, you're going to be getting Nobu Archer, Mixa, aka Mysterious Idol X Altar, Brave Ellie, and Caster Liz, aka Halloween Liz. So each one of these is pretty interesting in their own right. Frankly, this is actually one of the weakest groups of Evocation Festival units to come out. So if you're a little bit worried about like, hey, maybe I don't have too much in the way of Evocation Festival leaves, or I have my eyes set on some of the upcoming units that'll be coming, you don't have to necessarily go out and get all of these units right now at once. Again, I'm just going to keep emphasizing this. These units are permanently added to the shop. The biggest benefit that you're going to get is, like I mentioned, the damage bonus that they'll have right now, as well as the 2 times efficiency you will have for leveling these units now. However, it would be a mistake of me not to mention the fact that while yes, only these 4 units will get a bonus for being leveled at 2 times rate and efficiency during this Pilgrimage Festival in particular, there will be Pilgrimage Festivals later on that do give you the 2 times bonus to everyone. JP did have one of those not too long ago, so Don't fear too much about missing out on some of this. If you're worried about, say, maybe like grailing one of these units or something like that, that is definitely something that you can at least put off until a later date where you're maybe more sure about things. But feel free to go ahead and take advantage of it now while it's here. It's definitely a great time to grail some of these units if you so choose. But again, my advice on grailing, grail for love, not for gameplay. Go for the units that you actually really like and really want to grail, and you'll find yourself being rewarded for that choice. Now, with regards to each of these units, caster Ellie in particular, to me, she's in a lot better state. She's gotten a lot of buffs over the years. She was actually one of the weakest units in the game for a while, and they've given her some love. She's a lot more usable now, but NA is still a little bit of a ways from some of that. So I'm gonna say, like, yeah, go ahead and pick her up if you want, but this is not, you know, nearly as dire of a thing. There's plenty of low star options for a AoE caster, some of which are particularly good, like Caster Ku. And even if you can't get your hands on someone like him, there's plenty of other serviceable options, like even Geronimo, that can actually deal pretty decent damage for you. So I don't think it's that, like, crazy to go after someone like Caster Liz here. She's probably one of the, I'm gonna say, worst pickups in this group that you could kind of go for out of the outset. But again, if it's just something where it's like you find yourself needing a caster, it's something you can do. I don't think all in all she's that bad of a unit. It should be emphasized that at the end of the day, these are going to be, you know, 4-star units that you end up getting 5 copies of. So they're almost as strong as a 5-star in some cases. And that's something to not really look the gift horse in the mouth on, because it's functionally free. The evocation leaves don't cost you anything. You're going to get a ton of them just from doing missions. You're going to get a ton over time from logins. You're going to get a ton from event shops and things like that and various other campaigns. So to me, you're still going to get a lot of these resources to be able to purchase these things. So in the end, you want to acquire all of the welfares eventually anyways. You do get the benefit of leveling them up and getting not only more milestone progress, but also a rare prism every time you get one of them to their max ascension. So I do recommend trying to go after each one of them, if for no other reason than that. Right off the bat, though, here we now have Nobu as the second option. Nobu Archer, I think for a long time, also was in a weird spot. I think a lot of people give Nobu Archer crap. Nobu Archer did need some upgrades, did get at least one. I think she could still use a little bit more love. However, Nobu Archer has always been a pretty serviceable unit. What she lacks in charge and repeatability, she makes up for in some at least like scalability due to her damage niches. She is anti-divine and anti-riding with her kit, which is actually really strong, especially since a lot of saber servants have riding in their kit. So with her as an archer, that is a really potent combination. And it doesn't have to be a saber either. It can be something like a neutral target or a berserker that she can maybe get a little bit more firepower out of. We do actually make use of her in some of the Lotto comps, but again, it may not be a comp that you want to do. I highly advise going and checking out the spreadsheet on that before you necessarily go like, oh man, I really gotta have this one. But I do think she's a pretty serviceable option. She's arguably one of the better ones here, but again, like I said, this group is not the strongest batch of welfares. Next up here, we have Saber Ellie, aka Brave Ellie. Brave Ellie has also gotten some nice upgrades over the years, but in a weird way, I think the devs still quite don't understand how to work her third skill. They're not quite sure what they want to do with it. And I think the players just don't really value what the devs are trying to do with it very much. Not saying the players or the devs are wrong, just that there's a disconnect there. She's actually pretty serviceable in terms of damage output, but the kit leaves a lot to be desired. If for no other reason, she could be a good sort of stat stick damage dealer for a single target saber for you. But there's also some really good options, even in the low star variety, for sabers for you in that regard. We've got, you know, basically Caesar out there, who, while he does have an RNG aspect to his damage output, still does pretty consistently good things. And we've also got Bedivere, who has charge and party-wide utility. So I think realistically speaking, Brave Ellie, depending on where you're at in your account's capability, does not need to be a priority here unless you just really desperately need somebody that can kind of punch a little bit harder as a single target saber. And then last but not least here, we get to Mixa. Now, Mixa is really going to be, realistically speaking, one of your only options for a foreigner if you're looking for a welfare. That alone is going to give her some value with her being an extra class, and especially if you're a newer player, you might not have an easy capability of getting your hands on a foreigner for a while. Foreigners are really good against berserkers because they don't take effective damage from them, so they're a pretty easy counter. Mixa does at least have some pretty decent crit damage, but she doesn't really have any charge, very similar to Archer Nobu in that regard, and the damage does leave a little bit to be desired in terms of Noble Phantasm output. I would love to see her get an upgrade at some point in time, but we'll just have to see maybe how the devs treat her down the stretch. I do think that she's a decent pickup, though, again, for that uniqueness factor, due to the fact that, again, a lot of newer players are just not going to have a foreigner that they can really kind of tap into should they need it. Foreigners can also be a decent counter against other foreigners and against pretenders should you already be deep enough into the story to be encountering some. So at that point, I'm going to say this is actually one of the stronger pickups here. So if we're going to talk about these four servants, my two recommendations for who I would look at first would actually be Mixa and Nobu, though admittedly, it really just depends on what your account in particular needs. So the choice is yours at the end of the day, but I do think each of these can be a decent option. We're also going to be getting some master missions here. Again, Ember Gathering is what's going to be required. That should be literally par for the course for a lot of you, as you guys will take any opportunity to farm your 5-star Ember Gathering out there in order to start working on your 120 Grailing project. So that's a-okay. We've also got the clear any free quest on a main story map 3 times. That should be pretty easy if you guys haven't finished off the 6.5 or LB7 free quests yet. And certainly if you're caught up on that, just do whichever one has materials that you need still. And then there's always the requirement in any Evocation festival to raise basically any of the units up to level 40. You don't even have to have them fully completed. It's just a like, hey, get this done. Thankfully, the clear any Ember Gathering up to 6 times should literally get you pretty much to level 40 on these, especially since they have that 2 times success and efficiency rate increase here. And then once you clear them all, you'll actually get a crystallized lore, but this is also going to be a source of how you guys are going to get some of these evocation leaves and some of the quartz there. We're also going to have game updates that we already pretty much know are coming here for each of these units. Again, you guys can see we're actually going to get some of the nicer upgrades for them. This is definitely going to help out their capability. It's something that I've liked seeing the devs do, is as they do these evocation festivals, kind of revisiting and giving some of the older welfares some love, especially as they really do kind of need it to keep pace in the current sort of game state. So in that regard, each one of these is pretty nice. Brave Ellie is going to get a much needed Noble Phantasm upgrade to help her kind of keep pace. Literally Archer Nobu here is going to get an actual steroid in her kit finally outside of a power mod, so that's going to be really, really nice for her damage output, though admittedly still kind of needs that extra like NP charge to really help her get online. Hopefully the devs give her that at some point. And then Caster Ellie here is going to get basically the upgrade to her Innocent Monster. Each one of these can actually be pretty decent. They can facilitate a couple of new compositions, and I do like it, and I think that it helps out the welfare's usability. You're also going to get a summoning campaign here involving Okita as well as Vlad, MHX, OG Liz, MHXX, and Nobu Berserker. This one in particular, I highly recommend you guys pay attention to. Nobu Berserker is another one that gets used in a couple of our compositions. And the reason why being, again, anti-divine single target Buster Berserker, pretty powerful sort of niche in the right circumstances. And some of those Lotto nodes will actually have some capability for that to be used. So again, this could be a really, really interesting one. The problem that you guys are going to have is if you look, You're going to have different banners on each day. So depending on which 5-star you want, it's going to kind of dictate which 4-star you can get. So if you want Nobu Berserker here, you're going to need to roll Okita. Similarly, if you want either of the MHX variants, the devs did you a favor and paired them together. So that at least makes it easy on those of you guys that want that. And again, frankly speaking, both the MHX variants are at least pretty decent for damage output, if nothing else. So that is going to be your Pilgrimage Festival Part 2, aka Evocation Festival Part 2 coming up. Let me know which one you guys are going to pick first, and if you guys are ready for the Lotto yet. I'll be curious to hear what your farming plans are. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys for the next one. Later. Hey, if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe, right? What happened to Cad? I'm still here. Or am I?